But I see it on your face when you say that he's the one that you want.
So, good afternoon, everybody. We're getting towards the late afternoon, so I hope you're all awake and ready because this is going to be a very exciting panel. We are here with Dr. Hu Lei, who is the Chief Technology Officer at IBM Watson Health Cloud, and Dr. Lawrence Wee, who is the Chief Data Scientist at Allianz. And we're going to discuss about AI. And we were just talking about outside, really the concept of AI in general. And so the question that I would like to ask first, and that a lot of people have in their mind, what is really AI? What is AI about? What does it include and what doesn't include? So I'll ask Dr. Wee first, what's your opinion about AI? What's AI really?
So there's the standard answer for AI, right? For what AI is, right? That's the Turing test, right? Meaning if you ask a bunch of questions to a machine and to a human being, and based on the answers alone, if one cannot tell who gave the answer, whether it's the machine or the human, then that machine has achieved the level of AI. But what you can say right now is that we have only achieved AI in very narrow specific domains. For example, image recognition or board games. We cannot ask machines any arbitrary questions because then you can easily tell whether it's a machine or not.
All right. I agree with Dr. Hui. Maybe an idea here is to extend the concept of AI into something beyond just data analysis and data science. So I think AI encapsulates more than just analysis. It's really about reasoning and creation. So when we come to the point where we create models that can think on its own, create something new and innovate, I think that is closer to true AI.
Great, great. So in your, Lawrence, is your day-to-day work at Allianz, how do you work with AI there? What does that mean?
So I work for Allianz, and Allianz is a global financial services institution. So there are several areas. We have an investment arm, we have an insurance arm, and a couple of other areas. Of course, the bulk of it is insurance. And if you look at the business of insurance, there's essentially a few different types of data. We have customer policy data, we have customer claims data. So essentially, these two forms the bulk of the data set. So the application of AI in insurance essentially involves analysis, or deep analysis of these two sources of data. And the key objective of data science and AI here is to see if we can reduce cost and increase revenues, right? So let's look at increasing revenues. So one way to increase revenues is to create products that could sell better. And to create products that could sell better, we need to understand the customers better. So by analyzing consumer and customer behavior through the policy data and through the claims data, we can build better models to design products that could suit the individual customers. And if you look at claims data, right, we could be looking at claims data to see if there are ways to develop models to reduce cost. So in insurance, you have a lot of opportunities for wastage, right? So there are times when customers claim more than they should. There are times when there are abnormal claims. So when we look at all these claims data, we could look at building machine learning models to predict fraud or predict anomalous claims. So if we do this effectively, we can over time, hopefully, reduce claims loss. And that's one way to improve the business. So at this point, we are very much in the stage of deep analysis. I wouldn't say we are close to artificial general intelligence, where we know everything about the consumer, and then we can give the exact right product to every single customer. But that's the vision that we have, and it's a journey, and then we are taking micro steps to reach this goal.
And at Watson Health Cloud, how do you, how's your day-to-day life to work with both big data in general and artificial intelligence? What does it really include?
So Watson Health Cloud is a purpose-built cloud platform for the health industry. We basically combine big data, AI, and cloud computing to drive innovation in many areas of health industry, such as life sciences, health insurance, population health management, oncology, and genomic medicine. And we basically use all kinds of AI techniques, whether it's machine learning, natural language understanding, knowledge discovery, and even image recognition and processing.
Okay, so that brings us actually into big data. And so big data is really powerful on its own, but so is artificial intelligence. So what really happens when those two merge? Billy?
I can go first. So that's an interesting question because big data and AI have very strong interdependencies. On the one hand, AI is the solution to many big data challenges. We know that data is growing super fast, right? We expect to have 44 zettabytes of big data in the world within the next 3 to 4 years. And 1 zettabyte is 1 followed by 21 zeros. So we simply don't have enough resources to keep up with the growth. And in fact, 90% of big data created in the past 10 years was never captured or analyzed. And AI can be very effective in mining the data and deriving insights from the big data. And those insights are the core value of big data. So AI makes data manageable and useful to us. Right? On the other hand, big data is responsible for the recent flurry of AI advances. Right? The most popular AI computation model today is deep learning, and deep learning needs to be trained on huge amounts of data. The more the data, the better the learning results. So big data is the fuel to many AI solutions, and it's the reason we're having all kinds of transformation in technology, business, and society today. That's why in IBM, we often say that big data is the world's new natural resource, right? It promises to be for the 21st century what steam power was for the 18th century, what electricity was for the 19th century, and what oil and gas were for the 20th century.
So I'd like to take the view that AI is only quite possible if we have sufficiently huge amount of data to work on. This is especially so in the area of healthcare, when actually we don't really have very good integrated high-quality data sets where we can build intelligent diagnostic systems, prognostic systems, which can be used in a real-life medical setting. So I think the advent of big data, it's going to speed up the process and the development of AI technologies. It's going to further integrate AI into general life, into routine life, so much so that at the end of the day, it blends into our environment, and we don't even know that AI is happening all around us.
Yeah, and so for instance, as at Watson, what type of, when you just talk about big data, what type of data is it that you kind of are tapping into? I think that could be helpful.
Right. So the term we use in IBM Watson Health is health big data, right? There are 3 kinds of data we care about. The first one actually is what we call exogenous data. That's the data on our lifestyle, our behavior, and our access to nutrition, our environment, and so forth. Actually, exogenous data has 60% impact on our health. In comparison, genomic data, which is second kind of data we look at, only has like 30% impact. And then what people usually relate to health is clinical data, and that only has 10% impact on our health. So we look at all 3 because we feel that only when you consider all 3 of them, you get a full picture of an individual's health.
And at Allianz, the data you're looking, is that typically internal data, insurance claims and so on, or are you looking across?
So at Allianz, first and foremost, we look at the data sets that we have, and we see we can build really interesting AI and predictive models to improve revenues and to reduce cost. Naturally, we will look at data which is outside of our databases, and that includes things like consumer behavior data on social media. And we are also looking into, in the area of health, for example, partnerships with hospitals, with farmers, to look at if we could access some of those data sets which lies outside of our databases. And the key thing here, with respect to healthcare, is to build really useful models, whether it's to predict disease risk, is it to predict patient outcomes. We need data sets that goes beyond just what we have. We need to know what's happening with, for example, a patient, right, or a customer, what's happening at home after treatment. We need to know the medications that the person is taking. We need to know whether the medications are working well or not. And we need to know these over time, right? So we need to know in-depth data as well as data across time. So that brings us the need, or it drives the need for us to do partnerships for data.
Okay, great. So some people think that AI will end the world or civilization as we know it, and Elon Musk even thinks it's going to cause, maybe it might cause the next world war. It's very controversial. A lot of people are afraid of AI, and but some people think that it's a solution to every single problem that we're talking about these days. So what's your take? It's probably somewhere in between.
So I have a story to tell. As you know, in 2011, IBM's Watson system participated in the American quiz show Jeopardy and outperformed the two greatest champions in the show's history. After that, some people think Watson could do just about anything. So in 2016, a grassroots organization called Watson 2016 Foundation organized a campaign for Watson to run for US president. And a US president candidate actually challenged Watson to a debate. And Watson's spokesperson at IBM basically said, thank you, but no. Watson is currently busy with other important work, such as helping doctors improve healthcare and helping teachers improve education. And obviously, there are also people, including many notable personalities, who think that an AI presents a threat to humanity. Thomas Watson Jr. once said, the greatest source of fear is ignorance. There really isn't evidence that substantiates the fear for AI. I think in reality, AI should represent augmented intelligence for a long, long time. In other words, AI will serve as a partner to humans and will help humans pursue knowledge, expand expertise, and make decisions. Because AI or machines and humans are really good at different things. The true value of AI is realized when we combine AI capabilities such as natural language processing, perception, and knowledge discovery with uniquely human capabilities such as self-directed goals, common sense, and ethical values.
All right, and Lawrence?
So I think we are somewhere in between, right? I mean, so I think most people agree we are somewhere in between. And I think the fear of AI taking over our lives, making decisions for us, it's overblown. If you ask most of the tech giants that right now, we are nowhere close to building systems that are truly intelligent, which means to say that the progress towards artificial general intelligence, we are still starting. So until we get to a sizable or a significant milestone, we don't have to worry too much about robots controlling our lives. But rather, what's good to focus right now is the applications of AI to solve everyday problems and to solve problems that cannot be solved just by simple rules. For the angle of healthcare, it could be looking at applying AI to predict disease risk, to look at how medications will work for specific populations but not the others. So I think right now the focus of most people, rather than fearing AI, is to see how can AI actually augment their everyday lives to make their lives better. And I think when we see the benefits of AI coming faster and closer to us, it may elevate some of the fear in us. And I think the fear is really overblown.
Okay, so I want to go back a little bit to the insurance industry. And it's an industry that is known as very change resistant and so far. But we're seeing that the insurance industry is really undergoing kind of a digital revolution. And so how does AI change the insurance industry?
So I brought an earlier point out, which which essentially means that AI is here to improve business, and in two ways. One is to reduce cost, and is to increase business. So we could be looking at applying machine learning models into predicting, for example, increasing revenues, to look at customer behavior and create products that is highly specific to an individual. So it could be everybody as, for example, a health insurance product, but yet we can tweak each product to suit an individual. And on the aspects of reducing costs, we could be using AI methods or machine learning models to predict fraud risks, right? If there's some claims which are coming in and we think that this is fraudulent or anomalous claims, we can flag it out very quickly. AI can be used to quickly process claims, right? So instead of a customer waiting a few days for the claims to be approved, we could using AI methods to pick up the points and the data, and then just quickly processing it and then churning the results out. This could speed up the processing time from days to just hours. So this really improves the customer experience, and with that, we could use it to engage customers better, and then we could potentially sell more. The other aspects of AI would be, I think the longer term, from the perspective of health insurance, because I'm a healthcare person by training, we could be looking at AI to further the role of insurance, right? We could be looking at, instead of just a product company, right, sells insurance, an insurance company could be a healthcare company, right? Since we know so much about the customer, an insurance company could take that responsibility and to become a healthcare partner, right? So if someone falls sick, the insurance company will come forward, and since there's AI systems, there's machine learning model systems to understand the customer, we could be looking at providing early intervention strategies for the person. If the person, for example, has diabetes, we could be looking at a suitable early intervention models to come in and treat the diabetes early. If a person is, for example, as a chronic Parkinson's patient who needs medications to manage the disease, we could be coming in to advise on the right kind of medications, the right kind of care, whether is it digital tools or is it home monitoring tools, to help the patients progress in managing the disease. So the role of the insurance company changes over time as we develop smarter AI tools, smarter models to engage patients and customers.
Okay, and so that's a good, interesting introduction or a passage into healthcare. So, Dr. Lee, I wonder, like, we see AI being used everywhere in healthcare and hearing more and more about it, and some people get concerned about that. So how does AI change healthcare, both from, like, if you look at the doctor and patient relationship, but also in the research and the medical analysis side of things?
Right. So, so AI in healthcare builds on two main things, data and knowledge. The first one is health big data, right? I talk about we can use a combination of exogenous data, clinical data, and genomic data. The fact is that during our lifetime, each one of us will generate more than 1 million gigabytes of health-related data, and that's equivalent to 300 million books in volume. So we can use AI to mine such data and provide insights for physicians and for their use. So that's tremendously valuable. The other thing AI builds on is deep medical knowledge that's captured in the literature. The volume of published medical research content is growing so fast that it has become impossible for doctors to keep up. A doctor will have to read 167 hours a week in order to keep their professional knowledge up to date. However, if you use AI, we can easily digest the medical literature and provide evidence-based insights to doctors, all within a matter of minutes. So I can give you a reference point. The Watson system was trained by the oncologists in the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York on cancer care protocols. The training used more than 200 medical textbooks and 300 medical journals. It also used 20 years of patient data from the hospital. And equipped with such data and knowledge, Watson has been able to provide recommendations on cancer treatment plans, and you can achieve 90% concordance with tumor boards consisted of human oncologists. And in one study, Watson was able to identify new treatment options that had not occurred to physicians for 30% of the patients. So you can see AI is really powerful here.
So do you foresee a future where we'll be seeing less and less doctors, like physician-patient direct relationship, and perhaps even diagnosis through AI? Or will there always be a physician underwriting the diagnosis?
As I said earlier, for a long, long time, AI will serve the role of a human assistant, a human partner, yes.
Okay, great, interesting. So yeah, so we're talking about, this comes into the point of trust. So we have AI everywhere, it's invading our living rooms, it's in our phones, in cars, everywhere. But as this technology keeps expanding and the roles in our life becomes bigger and bigger, like what level of trust can we and should we put in the AI systems?
So the short answer is that we are not ready yet to place too much trust in AI. There are already many examples of AI demonstrating bias. Let me give you two quick examples. A camera application is supposed to give a warning when the human subject blinks. However, it misread images of Asian people smiling as blinking because many Asians tend to have squinty eyes. And a digital photo album classified images of black people as gorillas. So this kind of problem is usually caused by biased training data, and it calls for the use of fully representative data sets, right? And as for other technologies, AI reflects the value of its creators. However, there's no universally acceptable ethical value system in the world. So we need to build an AI community that's all inclusive. Another important aspect is transparency. In order for us to trust AI recommendations and decisions, particularly those that have an implication on human safety, we need to understand how it has arrived at those decisions, right? Another aspect related to transparency is privacy. We need to understand how personal data is collected and used. So the bottom line is, it will take time for us to get to trust AI. The best way to use AI today is to make it work in the same context as humans so that we can observe its behavior and assess its reliability. And over time, if AI can perform consistently, then we can gradually develop more and more trust in the technology.
Yeah, do you see a situation where there should be some kind of governing bodies overlooking in order to build this trust or safeguard us? How does that look and how does that work today?
So I think it's more than a governing body, right? Basically, the whole society across academia, industry, and government should form an alliance and collaborate together, so that we can put in place some governance structure, and then so that we can advance AI responsibly.
Okay, so that's kind of the challenges and limits in terms of trust and so on. So, but if we move into the technical challenges and limitations of AI, Lawrence, it has been mentioned as a solution for everything almost, but AI is far away from perfect. So technically, what challenges is AI facing today? What are you looking in today? What can it and what can it not do? We had an example here of reading Asians as smiling, but they were not smiling, and so forth. But technically, what else?
So I brought the earlier point up that truly intelligent AI systems depends a lot on data. So I think the first limitation is access to high quality, big data sets, right? In across different domains, right? And especially in healthcare. For example, there are several studies on using genetics to predict diabetes and cancer risk. But a lot of such projects and research are done in the Western countries, right? Because maybe they have bigger budgets or they are a little bit ahead of times. So the models that they built to predict disease risk, whether it's cancer or diabetes, based on genetics, it's somewhat biased. Right? And if we were to use these models and apply it across different populations, it's going to give a lot of false positives and false negatives. So until we have a sufficiently broad spectrum, high quality, unbiased data set, in this case, it's not likely we can get truly intelligent or truly accurate AI models to predict disease risk. So in this case, it's very important for us to, as in Asia, especially to come up with our own data sets, right? So at least have access to our own data, and then maybe work across the globe, right, on a multi-consortium kind of model to build intelligent AI models together. So it requires data, and it requires partnerships and collaborations.
Dr. Lei, that's what's your feeling about that?
Right, so let me comment on 3 technical challenges. The first one, today's AI needs to be trained on large volumes of data, and that takes time, and it's very costly, and it also slows down the development of AI systems. So we should develop new AI techniques that require much less data. So hopefully in the future, AI can be driven by small data instead of big data. The second thing is today's AI is largely based on supervised learning. And so we need the humans to manually label training data. The work is laborious and can inject human bias into systems. So we want to gradually reduce human involvement in the learning process. And ultimately, we want to have completely unsupervised learning. And finally, AI relies on very powerful computer processors, such as GPUs. And the computational complexity in AI will continue to grow. So I think we need to also explore new forms of hardware, such as quantum computers.
Okay. So I think as a final question here, I wanted to see yourself as prophets of the future. So if both of you are looking ahead 10 years from now, what role does AI play in our world, whether it's in health, our daily lives, financial services, you name it? Lawrence?
I think the future would be a situation where no one really talks about AI anymore because it's so well blended into our lives. Nowadays, you don't talk about smartphones, right? Because almost everybody has a smartphone. But 7 years back, smartphones are still coming out. Where the first iPhone is being launched in 2007. So fast forward 10 years, and nobody talks about smartphones anymore because everybody has it. So I think 10 years later, we're going to have truly intelligent systems. Not everything, but maybe in certain pockets of business and domains. So much so that people don't talk about it all the time. But it's very well integrated in our lives.
So we first need to recognize that today's AI has very limited intelligence. And obviously, you can recognize and classify objects. You can reason in very narrow applications, such as board games and self-driving cars. You can also answer questions based on codified knowledge. Future AI can be expected to possess much more advanced intelligence. Let me quickly mention some advanced AI capabilities I look forward to, right? The first one is deep reasoning with implicit knowledge and common sense. The second one is deep conversation that's infused with context and emotions. And the third one is truly creative activities that can create beautiful things from scratch without mimicking training data. So I think this kind of advanced AI makes it possible to scale human expertise and skills. It's like cloning top human performers and making them available everywhere. This kind of democratization of knowledge and access to talent basically will have a huge impact in many areas of our lives, such as health, education, transportation, arts, and legal.
All right, Dr. Lei and Dr. Wee, thank you so much for coming here to Seoul, and a big applause to everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then anytime you